1954. World population 2.7 billion. Carbon in the atmosphere 310 parts per million. Remaining wilderness 64%. 1960. World population 3 billion. Carbon in the atmosphere 315 parts per million. Remaining wilderness 62%. 1968. World population 3.5 billion. Carbon in the atmosphere 323 parts per million. Remaining wilderness 59%. 1971. World population 3.7 billion. Carbon in the atmosphere 326 parts per million. Remaining wilderness 58%. 1978. World population 4.3 billion. Carbon in the atmosphere 335 parts per million. Remaining wilderness 55%. 1989. World population 5.1 billion. Carbon in the atmosphere 353 parts per million. Remaining wilderness 49%. 1997. World population 5.9 billion. Carbon in the atmosphere 360 parts per million. Remaining wilderness 46%. 2011. World population 7 billion. Carbon in the atmosphere 391 parts per million. Remaining wilderness 39%. 2020. World population 7.8 billion. Carbon in the atmosphere 415 parts per million. Remaining wilderness 35%. Our impact is now truly global. Our blind assault on the planet is changing the very fundamentals of the living world. This is now the status of our planet in the year 2020. We are extracting over 80 million tons of seafood from the oceans each year and have reduced 30% of fish stocks to critical levels. Almost all the large oceanic fish have been removed. We've lost about half of the world's shallow water corals, and major bleachings are occurring almost every year. Our coastal developments and seafood farming projects have now reduced the extent of mangroves and seagrass beds by more than 30%. Our plastic debris has been found throughout the ocean, from the surface waters to the deepest trenches. No beach on the planet is free of our waste. 70% of the mass of birds on this planet today are domesticated. The vast majority are chickens. Globally, we eat 50 billion of them each year. 23 billion chickens are alive at any one moment. Many of these are fed soy-based feed derived from deforested land. Even more startling is the fact that 96% of the mass of all mammals on Earth is made up of our bodies and those of the animals that we raise to eat. Our own mass accounts for 1/3 of the total. Our domestic mammals, chiefly cows, pigs and sheep, make up just over 60%. The remainder, all the wild mammals, from mice to elephants and whales, account for just 4%. Since the 1950s, on average, wild animal populations have more than halved. When I look back at my earlier films now, I realize that although I felt I was out there in the wild, wandering through a pristine natural world, that was an illusion. Those forests and plains and seas were already emptying.